Hi, today we're going to make one of these, and it's a pop-up Titanic. So we have the Titanic, we have the iceberg, and then we have the moon, because when the Titanic sunk, it was at night. So I haven't actually got the Titanic hitting the iceberg because I felt it was nicer to sort of have that time, because passengers on board had admired the icebergs before the actual accident happened. So I wanted to sort of capture that moment when everything was peaceful, and in the evening when the ship quietly went past the icebergs that were there. The first thing you're going to need to do is that you will need 4 pieces of paper. So there's 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 pieces of paper. Now I'm working on A5, but you may find it easier to work on an A4 piece of paper. The paper is quite hard. It's sort of from a sketchbook, so it's not really thin, and it is easier if the paper is thick. First thing that I want you to go off and do is you will need to go and draw your picture like this. And I want you to draw it as simply as you can. So what you're going to need is you're going to need the sea, and then you're going to need to draw the Titanic, and then you're going to need to draw the iceberg and the moon. So that is the first thing that you need to do. There are pictures of the Titanic on the slides, and you can also Google, but you want a picture of the Titanic where you look straight at it like this. Okay. Right, you should have your drawing here that you've drawn out, kept it very simply. I've just done mine in very basic black lines. I've actually used a fine liner to go over the lines, just to keep it as simple as possible. The next thing you'll need to do is you'll need to trace your drawing. So I have used greaseproof paper, or otherwise known as baking paper, or even tracing paper if you have some tracing paper to be able to trace. So I have placed it over the top of the boat, and then I have traced neatly my drawing. Okay. Once I have done that tracing, I will then need another piece of paper, because what I'm going to need to do is I need to break my drawing up into layers. So this is going to be the first layer I make from my drawing. So I will take a piece of paper, one of my pieces of paper, I will place the drawing on there, and what I've done is I'm going to fold the drawing in half. I'm going to fold the paper in half, so I can place the drawing on to trace through onto the paper. Now, to make sure it comes through onto the paper, I need to make sure there's pencil on the back. So one way you can do that is you can just do this, just put some pencil on the back of the tracing, so that when you push through, it will come out onto the other side. So I'm making sure the lines all meet up. So that line, I put a line down the middle, meets up with the middle of the paper, and I'm also going to tape it down. Actually going to use masking tape to tape it down. I will then, using, I hope, a sharp pencil. I really need to sharpen my pencils actually. I am just going to trace what I'm going to call layer 1. So of my drawing, this is layer 1, and this is going to be this. So that's layer 1. So as you can see, I've got layer 1. I can just see it faintly. So if I just go through, this is going to be layer 1. Now I added, to get the water, I thought about again what you had at home and what we'd used in the other lessons. And I just used a blue felt tip, two tones of felt tips. I've got a dark tone blue and a lighter tone blue. And all I did was I followed this like so, and then I put some blue in. So very like you did before with the Renoir picture. And then I got a paintbrush with water and I put water onto here. So look how it's lovely. It sort of floods. So you make this lovely effect. So you're obviously going to spend more time on this than I am. So that's how I created this effect here. Then what I did is I got a pair of scissors and I cut this out. Now I've cut out layer 1, and as you can see, I've just added some more felt tips on there, and I can just do this and I can get that lovely washy blue. I now need to think about, that's my layer 1. I've got my layer 1, it's like I did before. Now my layer 2 is going to be, this one is going to be the boat. So taking my tracing paper, I place it, I fold my paper in half like this. I place my tracing on top, ensuring that the line at the bottom, put the line at the bottom is the same, and the middle, sitting in the middle, I've got tape on it. And then I am going to sketch out the boat. So this is going to be the boat. So I sketch out the boat like so, and then to hold the boat onto the sea, I added another layer of sea here to the boat. So the boat is sitting I could trace that a bit neater. Just trying to keep it. So there's your boat. So that is this is going to be your layer 2. So it's really important that the boat is at the bottom. Do you see? So there's the layer that will go over it. So this is the layer behind. So this is layer 2. And again, to add colour to layer 2, I used felt tips and water. You've got the black felt tips, do you see here? And added some water. Right, so now we have layer 1, layer 2, and now the iceberg. So I take another piece of paper, I fold it in half like so. I place my tracing paper, ensuring that the fold and the bottom is in the same place. Place it on there like And then I need to trace the iceberg. So I trace the iceberg and I go beyond the ship because obviously it's on. So what I can do is when I draw it on here, I then draw it on top, and then I'm going to pick up the sea here so that I know that the sea is here, because the boat will sit in front, because you want a whole iceberg. So that's layer 3. So now we have layer 3 is the iceberg, layer 2, layer 1. So 1, 2, 3. The background with the moon and the horizon, remembering how important from all the other work we've been doing this term, is going to be on the very back piece of paper. So if you look at mine, the original one here, we have the horizon and the moon, and that is the backing. It's the backdrop for the layers. So the first thing I do is I fold the paper in half. Very important, this. Fold the paper in half. I take the tracing. I ensure that the tracing half sits on top, the bottom of the line underneath the tracing, so where the drawing would end, sits there, and then I put my moon on. All I have to do is put the moon and the horizon. And what I'm going to do with the horizon, whoops, is drop my pencil, is with the horizons, I've got the moon, that the horizon is straight, goes right across. Remember how the horizon is totally straight. So, are you ready? It's my backdrop. Then I have the layer with the iceberg on, and then I have the layer with the ship, and then I have the layer with the sea. Now what you'll do is you will apply colour, as I have, using the felt tips, the tonal felt tips, the blue, the dark blue and the light blue, and then you add them in, and then using water you can then work into the felt tips to give them that lovely watery feel. And that's also, I loved doing this. I must show you as my moon. I love my moon, where I just added these felt tips around the edge and then used water just to add that colour. And to get the water of the sky, the colour of the sky, I did the horizon and I did my felt tips backwards and forwards, like we had done on the Renoir collage. And then taking the colour that was left on the brush, that's how I then created the sky.